Good afternoon. I would like to call this meeting of the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio to order. Today's date is September 4th, 2024. Our first order of business will be the roll call, which will be conducted by Jeff Jones, the Commission's legal director.
Chair French.
Here.
Vice Chair Conway.
Here.
Commissioner Friedemann.
Here.
Commissioner Dieters.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Chair French, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next order of business is approving the minutes from the meeting of August 21st, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as prepared?
I move the approval of the minutes as prepared.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, the minutes as prepared are approved. Before we get to the agenda items, I would like to take a moment to recognize a few people in our audience. Here today with us is Captain Ray Martin. With Captain Martin is Colonel Jones, Lieutenant Colonel Swindell, Lieutenant Colonel Lennick, Major Hendricks, Captain Martin's wife, Mrs. Renee Martin, as well as a large number of officers from our State Highway Patrol. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here today. First, Captain Martin, I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. Perhaps you know. Your esteemed colleagues have organized a surprise so that we can recognize and congratulate you on your retirement. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Williams to present the resolution, please.
Oh, thank you. Captain Martin, it's a great pleasure for me to present this resolution to you. I thoroughly enjoyed working with you as in my former position as the Director of the Transportation Department. Thoroughly enjoyed collaborating with you to ensure our motor carriers that operated throughout Ohio operated safely on the highways, keeping all Ohioans safe. So with that, I want to thank you. With that, I'm now going to read the resolution. And whereas Captain Ray Martin has announced his retirement from the Ohio State Highway Patrol Licensing and Commercial Standards Section effective September 13th, 2024, and whereas Captain Martin began his career in public service as a lifeguard in Mission Beach, California, while attending the University of California, San Diego from 1983 to 1987. After which he completed a graduate degree at Union College and graduated from the Ohio State Highway Patrol Academy Class 121 in 1991. Whereas over 3 decades long law enforcement career began as a trooper in 1991. He was promoted to sergeant in 1998, lieutenant in 2000, staff lieutenant in 2003, and due to his thorough and exemplary work to captain in 2019, overseeing the patrol's operations in the licensing and commercial standards section. He was twice awarded Post Trooper of the Year, multiple physical fitness awards, and was recognized for 30 years of safe driving. And whereas in his LCS position, Captain Martin worked closely and diligently with the PUCO's Transportation Department and provided excellent leadership and guidance to troopers and civilian employees, and for enforcing commercial motor vehicle and hazardous materials regulations aimed at keeping the motoring public safe. Whereas Captain Martin is described by those who know him as a person who takes great interest in the development and success of those around him, and as a man of unwavering dedication and principle, now therefore be it resolved that the commissioners and staff of the Public Utilities Commission hereby recognize the important contributions to the PUCO's safety mission that Captain Martin has made throughout his career, and further be it resolved that the commissioners and staff of the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio express their deepest gratitude to Captain Ray Martin for his service to the state of Ohio and wish him the very best in his retirement and future endeavors. Thank you. And Captain Martin, if you'd like to come up forward.
Captain Martin, thank you for your service to the state of Ohio and for your partnership with the PUCO. All right, next we have another retirement to celebrate. Oh, there he is. Pete Chase in our Service Monitoring and Enforcement Department. Commissioner Friedemann, please go ahead.
There we go. Pete, it is a pleasure and a privilege to read this resolution of recognition for you. Your list of notable accomplishments is pretty lengthy, so I'm going to paraphrase this if I can. It says, whereas Pete Chase, Chief of the Facility and Operations Field Division within the Service Monitoring and Enforcement Department, has served the Public Utilities Commission with distinction since 2009. And whereas Pete graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Michigan, a Master of Science degree from Miami University, and a second master's degree, when you finally got it right, from the Ohio State University. Pete, thank you for your service, a veteran of the United States Navy, having achieved the rank of lieutenant. You began your career with the state of Ohio by teaching mathematics at Ohio State University. Moved on to the Ohio State Fire Marshal's Office and Bureau of Underground Storage Tank Regulations, and joined the PUCO, again, finally got it right, as the Gas Pipeline Safety Manager, Program Manager in 2009, working to ensure compliance with field inspection audits and also promoting the safety of Ohioans. Thank you very much. You were promoted to your current position as the Chief of the Facility and Operations Field Division in 2019, overseeing all of the field inspection and audits for the agency. And you have served in your current role also as the Underground Technical Committee Coordinator for the agency, working to facilitate excavation safety. And after joining the PUCO, Pete, and I know this personally, thank you for your help in the past, you established yourself as an expert in the regulation of gas pipeline safety and president of the National Association of the Pipeline Safety Regulators, the acronym of which is NAPSR, in 2017. And you went on also to share that expertise as a NAPSR representative on the Federal Pipeline and Hazardous Safety Materials Safety Administration's acronym PHMSA, Gas Pipeline Advisory Committee, from 2019 to present. And you're just widely recognized and very highly respected by both the industry and the regulators throughout the country at both the state and the federal levels. Whereas Pete's insight and knowledge, along with his unique sense of humor, will be sorely missed by his friends and colleagues here at the PUCO, despite the fact that you do have one degree from the school up north. Now, be it resolved that on this 4th day of September 2024, the chairman, the commissioners, and the staff of the PUCO congratulate you for an outstanding career, your dedication to service, and we offer you the most sincere gratitude and best wishes for happiness and success in both your retirement and your future endeavors. Congratulations, Pete.
Pete, thank you for your service to the state of Ohio, and congratulations on your retirement. All right, next we'll go through the cases on our agenda. So after we have voted on all of our cases, we're going to take a 5-minute break and then hear the presentation from FirstEnergy. All right, we are going to begin with Judge Wallstra with all utilities. Item number 1, case 24649 AUORD, please.
In this entry, the Commission directs all interested persons to file comments or reply comments regarding the 5-year review of the nominating council rules.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the entry.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 1 is approved. Item number 2, case 24808 AUUTC, please.
In this finding and order, the Commission directs each respondent identified by the Underground Technical Committee to pay the forfeiture amount indicated or demonstrate why it is not in default.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 2 is approved. Moving to electric with Judge Addison. Item number 3, case 23864 ELATA, please.
In this finding and order, the Commission approves Duke Energy Ohio's proposed adjustments to the green power/carbon offset rider tariffs, subject to staff's recommendations.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 3 is approved. Item number 4, case 23938 ELCSS, please.
In this entry, the Commission grants complainant's motion to dismiss this case without prejudice.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the entry.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 4 is approved. Item number 5, case 2467 ELUNC, please.
In this finding and order, the Commission approves AES Ohio's application for bill format revisions, subject to staff's recommendations.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 5 is approved. Item number 6, case 24734 ELAEC, please.
In this finding and order, the Commission approves the joint application for a reasonable arrangement between AEP Ohio and Intel Corporation.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 6 is approved. Moving to gas with Judge Price. Item number 7, case 21637 GAAIR et al., please.
In this entry, the Commission finds that rehearing has been denied by operation of law in this case and in each of the cases listed in the attachment to this entry.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the entry.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 7 is approved. Item number 8, case 21218 GAGCR et al., please.
In this opinion and order, the Commission adopts the amended stipulation filed by the parties resolving all issues related to the gas cost recovery, uncollectible expense, percentage of income payment plan, and management performance audits of Duke Energy Ohio.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the opinion and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 8 is approved. Item number 9, case 24695 GAAIS, please.
In this opinion and order, the Commission approves the application filed by Suburban Natural Gas for authority to restructure its existing financial arrangement, subject to staff's recommended conditions.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 9 is approved. Item number 10, case 24712 PLAIS, please.
In this finding and order, the Commission approves the application filed by North Coast Transmission for authority to issue long-term debt, subject to staff's conditions.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 10 is approved. Okay, moving to telephone with Judge Agronoff. Item number 11, case 2130 TPUNC, please.
In the supplemental finding and order, the Commission revokes LTD Broadband LLC's designation as a competitive eligible telecommunications carrier.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 11 is approved. We do not have anything scheduled in water, which takes us to transportation. Back with Judge Price. Item number 12, case 23166 TRCVF, please.
In this entry, the commission grants staff's motion for default judgment based on the respondent's failure to appear at the hearing.
And Chair French, I need to recuse myself from this case.
Okay, Commissioner Williams is recused from item number 12. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the entry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 12 is approved. We will call item number 13, case 23647 TRCVF, and item number 14, case 23870 TRCVF together, please.
In these two cases, the commission grants staff's motion for default judgment based upon the respondent's failure to appear at the hearing.
Is there a motion for approval for items number 13 and 14?
I move approval of both entries.
Is there a second?
Second vote.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Items number 13 and 14 are approved. Item number 15, case 23907 TRCVF, please.
In this opinion and order, the commission finds that staff did not meet its burden of proof to demonstrate that the respondent violated the commission's transportation regulations.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval of the opinion and order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 15 is approved. We will call item number 16, case 23929 TRCVF, and item number 17, case 24241 TRCVF together, please.
In these two entries, the commission grants staff's motion to dismiss each case.
Is there a motion for approval for items number 16 and 17?
I move approval of both entries.
Is there a second?
Second to vote.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Items number 16 and 17 are approved. Item number 18, case 24478 TRCVF, please.
In this opinion and order, the commission approves the settlement agreement between staff and the respondent and directs the respondent to pay the agreed-upon civil forfeiture.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 18 is approved. We will call item number 19, case 23809 RRFED, and item number 20, case 23810 RRFED together, please.
In these two cases, the commission grants the requests of CSX Transportation for an extension of time to complete the installation of warning grade crossing devices at 2 crossings in Butler County.
Is there a motion for approval for items number 19 and 20?
I move approval of both finding and orders.
Is there a second?
Second to vote.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Items number 19 and 20 are approved. Item number 21, case 24816 RRFED, please.
In this finding and order, the commission approves the installation of flashing lights, gates, and cantilevers at a grade crossing in Stark County.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 21 is approved. Item number 22, case 24239 TRWVR, please.
In this finding and order, the commission denies the request for waiver and a hearing to increase the maximum towing and daily storage rates, and in the alternative, grants the request to open a docket to consider amendments to Rule 4901:2-24-03 of the Ohio Administrative Code.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the entry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 22 is approved. Item number 23, case 24110 TRUNC, please.
In this finding and order, the commission awards hazardous materials training grants to 27 applicants.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the finding and order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Item number 23 is approved. Okay, that is the end of our agenda. So we're now going to take a 5-minute break before the presentation from FirstEnergy. It is 1:50, so please be back here by 1:55. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It is 1:55, so we are now going to begin with the presentation from FirstEnergy. Thank you for being here today. Please proceed.
Before we start, could the four of you introduce yourselves? So I'm going to write down your names from left to right here so I know who I'm talking to if I have questions.
Absolutely. So Torrance Hinton, President of FirstEnergy Ohio. To my left, we have Pat Mullen, who's the Vice President of Operations for FirstEnergy. And then to my very right, we have John Huber, who's the Director of Emergency Preparedness. And then to his right, we have Tyler Woody, General Manager, Distribution Vegetation Management.
And John, your last name is?
Huber, H-U-B-E-R.
Like Huber Heights, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Torrance.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Torrance Hinton, President of FirstEnergy Ohio. First, I want to thank Chair French, Vice Chair Conway, Commissioner Dieters, Commissioner Friedemann, as well as Commissioner Williams for the opportunity to come before you and talk about the historic weather event that occurred back on August 6th. Our workforce on the front lines and behind the scenes helped us get through this very significant event. And most importantly, we got through it efficiently as well as safely without a single major safety incident recorded during the actual restoration effort. As you may know, I'm new to FirstEnergy and Northeast Ohio, having joined the organization recently back in June. However, I'm not new to the utility space, having worked 25 years in the industry, as well as having worked in the Midwest, primarily in the Chicago region. Prior to this current role, I was president of Peoples Gas and North Shore Gas, which are two Illinois-based utilities that provide energy to roughly 1 million customers in the city of Chicago and in 54 communities in the northern suburbs. Again, as a repeat, I have with me to my left Pat Mullen, to my right John Huber, as well as Tyler Woody. All of these leaders played instrumental roles in our storm restoration efforts and will present some of the slides that we share with you this afternoon. I also have behind me several knowledgeable colleagues in attendance who are also here to help answer any questions when and if appropriate. We will cover a range of topics, including the outage impact, weather forecast, our preparation and initial response, our restoration overview, system impacts, and the progress we made with our restoration efforts, as well as our public outreach and other key lessons learned. Before we jump into today's discussion, I do want to share with you a brief video that I think truly captures and sets the stage for this historic weather event. In this video, you will see various media reports describing the extensive damage caused by this storm. This clip will also depict several examples of our efforts to communicate with the public and to keep them informed through daily video updates, news conferences, letters, and videos to our customers. Here's a look at our effort.
Trees on homes, debris on roadways, and hundreds of thousands in the dark tonight.
FirstEnergy is saying it is dealing with the most impactful storm to hit the area in more than 3 decades.
In the aftermath of the storm, some 470,000 customers were without power.
That's a huge number. The National Weather Service confirmed a 5th tornado that hit Northeast Ohio.
The destruction across the area, historic. To make everything as efficient as possible, FirstEnergy has set up 7 different staging sites where crews can come in, fuel up, grab new material, grab even some lunch, and head back out to the field.
What's made it more challenging is we just seen extreme damage from trees falling down. We have the resources we need to get this done and get this done safely and as expeditiously as we can.
It is an all-hands-on-deck operation.
Those storm repair crews are working tirelessly on that fix. We thank them for that too.
We have seen power crews from Michigan and Kentucky busy out here, not to mention the dozens of tree crews cleaning up all the damage from the storm.
A man is safe this morning after being rescued from his burning home.
He was pulled out of the house through a back window. His rescue crew? FirstEnergy employees cleaning up storm damage.
They heard the resident inside yelling for help, pulled the resident out the back window. I can't say thank you enough.
It's a prime example of our employees not only out here doing the great work to restore service, but also thinking about the members of our community willing to save a life. To our customers, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing our workers to do their job and to do it safely. Thank you for showing acts of kindness to them. We appreciate your patience and for allowing us to get through this event safely and as quickly as possible. Thank you.
So while our presentation today is focused on Ohio, I do want to mention that more than 627,000 FirstEnergy customers lost service due to the severe storms that swept across Northeast Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, as well as New Jersey on August 6th. The powerful and historic storm system brought strong winds exceeding 80 miles per hour in parts of Ohio as well as western Pennsylvania, along with rainfall that exceeded 2 inches in parts of eastern Pennsylvania as well as New Jersey. Here in Ohio, we had 5 confirmed tornadoes with winds up to 110 miles per hour, which tore through the greater Cleveland area, one of which traveled a path of about 17 miles long and 350 yards wide through heavily populated areas from Brook Park to Bedford and Cuyahoga County. We also experienced a macro burst, which is a wide area of damaging straight line winds of about 70 to 90 miles per hour, covering an area of roughly 225 square miles in Cuyahoga, Lake, Geauga counties. And while the National Weather Service and our company meteorologists were expecting the potential for seasonal thunderstorms in the area, the severe magnitude and the widespread nature of these storms were not originally predicted. FirstEnergy's in-house meteorologists continually track the weather and monitor conditions most likely to cause electric disruptions. As you can see here, the weather model guidance used by both the National Weather Service and our FirstEnergy weather team understated the impact of the storms until they were formed. Similarly, our automated storm impact predictions for customers expected to be impacted by the storms were significantly less than what was expected. In the next slide, as I previously noted, this was the most impactful storm that hit the illuminating company service territory since July of 1993, when a powerful line of thunderstorms caused power outages to approximately 300,000 of the company's customers. Other impactful storms of note in the past include Hurricane Sandy in 2012, which impacted 261,000 illuminating company customers. And then there was Hurricane Ike in 2008, which impacted 200,000 illuminating company customers. With this storm, nearly 500,000 customers in Ohio lost power due to the storms on August 6th. The greater Cleveland area was the hardest hit area, with more than 333,000 customers without power in Ashtabula, Cuyahoga, Geauga, Lake, and Lorain counties. FirstEnergy's updated outage map tools were put to the test during these storms, and they were successful. The map even popped up during local media storm coverages to help illustrate how serious the damage was and just how much our crews were facing to get every customer back on. You can see this demonstrated in this time-lapse clip, which shows the progression of service restoration on the outage map throughout the entire event. I'm now going to turn things over to John Huber. John is going to talk a little bit about our mutual assistance efforts as well as our initial response to the emergency and share a little bit about our restoration efforts. John?
Thank you, Torrance, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Huber. I'm the Director of Emergency Preparedness for FirstEnergy. During emergencies, I transition into the Director of the Corporate Emergency Operations Center, which provides coordination and support across any of the operating companies that are impacted, as well as coordination with outside utilities within the EI footprint. So at the first hint of the storms on August 6th, we activated our storm response plan, which allowed us to put additional resources, including contractors that were on the property and personnel from other mutual assistance organizations on standby. And once we felt the impact of what happened, then of course we were able to mobilize these personnel to the hardest hit areas following the event. In addition to the August 6th storm, as you all may be aware, our teams were also monitoring Tropical Storm Debbie at the time that was coming up through the eastern United States and engaging with mutual assistance organizations across the country just to see what was happening with those. Our Ohio Electric companies, though, were appropriately prepared based on what the initial forecasts were, and we ensured coverages and staffing plans were in place for what we expected to get that afternoon. FirstEnergy's EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, is always in a steady state monitoring process. We're always looking at what's happening around the country and within the footprint. But it's always partial activation is what occurred on this day, which is when we start to take a look at what might happen. We start looking across the country to see what's going on, and there may be a response to an event that might impact the system. Our EOC had been engaged in situational activity awareness with the Southeastern Electric Exchange, which is our mutual assistance organization that covers the Southeast. They were tracking Debbie. There was a lot of resource movement going on in the Southeast, and we were part of those conversations. But FirstEnergy did not send any company or contractor resources. Those all needs were met closely geographically, so we were part of the discussions, but we never sent any resources down south. The EOC was also monitoring our storm impact prediction tool, which as well as internal meteorological alerts, just to see how things were progressing that afternoon. Based on the weather models you've already seen, the Ohio operating companies were appropriately preparing for the expected impact. Approximately 8,200 personnel from operating companies, contractors, and mutual assistance organizations were engaged in this restoration effort. FirstEnergy crews in our communities, they were there when the storms arrived, and more than 3,000 additional workers joined the effort in less than 24 hours. All of FirstEnergy's Ohio crews were ready to respond when the storm hit on August 6th because none, as I said, had been sent down south to help with Tropical Storm Debbie. FirstEnergy personnel were joined by outside assistance, as you can see on the map, from 17 states, and approximately 6,000 of those were working in the illuminating company, and approximately 1,550 were in the Ohio Edison service territory. All work was completed in one area. As work was completed in one area, additional crews were moved to assist with the others as the event unfolded. Post-impact adjustments occurred quickly in Ohio after we realized the extent of damage caused by the storm. We fully activated our Emergency Operations Center, and we began working with our contractor partners and engaged with the Great Lakes Mutual Assistance Organization, which provided resource from other utilities and other contractors outside our footprint. FirstEnergy also has an electronic system that allows resources to take required safety and operational training as they are inbound, which allowed us to more efficiently utilize the large number of resources arriving in the areas more quickly. To minimize downtime and allow for manageable spans of control, the impacted area within the illuminating company was divided into 4 zones. Our scalable incident command system structure, our ICS structure that we use, allowed us to strategically place experienced operations leadership in these different zones, and that also allowed flexibility, which tailored everything to the specific footprint within each of the zones. This also allowed for a more accurate and targeted daily work planning process that bolstered information sharing and resource management activities. Each zone had an operations section chief who holds the role of director of operations within Ohio, so they're very familiar with the area and how things operated within the footprint. All support branches, logistics, and others were fully activated in support of the event to ensure that we had everything we needed and where we needed it. We set up material staging sites quickly and established those to keep the needed materials and crew resources closer to the impacted areas and to minimize congestion within our line shops. The FirstEnergy restoration model is dynamic and expands from the dispatch of crews by our distribution control centers to the dispatch of crews by other organizations, such as hazard, line, forestry, service, and others, through a process that we call distributed dispatching. During the first 48 hours of this storm, our efforts were focused on responding to and making safe more than 430 911 reported emergencies, 460 road closure reports, and of course thousands of customer reported emergencies. This was coupled with a robust effort to reconfigure and restore 21 sub-transmission lines that provide source power for many of our distribution substations in the area. Following the safety of the public and the continuity of system efforts, we began to shift our focus and in parallel shifted to the largest customer count outages restoring priority customers and critical customers like hospitals. This large event included restoring 340 distribution circuit lockouts, 8,800 outage events, and responding to over 24,000 non-damaged locations, all within a short period of time. Most of the outages were caused by tree damage or tornado wind damage impacting our facilities. Our transmission system performed well, and most of the outage events were momentary or reclosed by the transmission system operator. This is a testament to the work that we've accomplished over the past 10 years with our Energizing the Future program, where we have invested over $10 billion since 2014 to upgrade or replace existing high-voltage power lines, to incorporate smart technology into the grid, and to upgrade dozens of substations with new equipment and enhanced security features.
Mr. Huber, if you don't mind me asking, just to confirm, so the last comment you just, or the last topic you just discovered was transmission system oriented rather than distribution facilities oriented. So the momentary interruptions that you just described were of the transmission system, not the distribution system?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
By the morning of August 7th, 6 bulk electric system lines of 100 kV or above remained out of service, all within the illuminating company service territory, but with zero customer impact through redundancy. All but 2 69 kV lines were able to be recovered by the morning of August 7th, with the remaining 2 restored by the end of the day on August 8th. The majority of the damage to our transmission system was related to off-corridor vegetation lines, resulting in conductor and arm damage to our transmission facilities. We'll get into the impact of the vegetation-related damages here in a bit when my colleague Tyler discusses that. A total of 5 structures on the transmission system with 6 arms were impacted, and all those facilities were repaired before August 11th. This slide 11 does have a couple of pictures that show some damage along the transmission right away due to trees, and of course we experienced a lot of damage from flying debris from other places, so we had to do a lot of cleaning out in some substations and of that nature.
Thank you, John. We're going to transition to Pat Mullen. She's going to provide a little bit more detail in terms of our restoration times and efforts.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Mullen, Vice President, Ohio Operations. The timeline you see here depicts actions taken with estimated times of restoration, which we commonly refer to as ETRs. As in part of our normal practice, when significant storms impact our service territory, we suspend ETR restoration times when it is clear the storm is causing widespread outages and extensive damage. The initial global estimated time of restoration represents an estimate of when service will be restored to nearly all customers following a major storm outage event. Global estimates are established while crews are working to restore power and assessing the full extent of the damages. Working to restore power continues around the clock, and many customers will have been restored sooner based on the level of damage in the areas. We take this action to ensure customers are not getting incorrect information about expected restoration. Outage maps were updated, noting that severe weather was impacting the area and the ETRs would be established as soon as possible. Our first ETRs were established for both Ohio Edison and the Illuminating Company on August 7th. While Ohio Edison's ETRs were established and communicated early in the day, ETRs for the Illuminating Company were set later that evening of August 7th. We've learned some lessons about the need to better coordinate the timing of communications related to the ETRs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. Early on Sunday, August 11th, we determined that based on our resources and progress being made, we would be able to revise and pull in the global ETRs for our customers. We carefully coordinated to ensure better communication around that major update. By August 13th, we had completed restoration to all customers impacted by the storm. As you can see on this graph, power was restored to 85% of our customers within 100 hours of this historic weather event. Half the customers impacted by the storm were restored within 51 hours. This was a huge feat given the extent of damage and the number of safety locations we responded to in those first 2 days. Customer restoration was as follows: 28% in 24 hours, 47% in 48 hours, 50% in 51 hours, 85% in 100 hours, and 95% in 124 hours, which was August 11th by 6 p.m. Our smart grid technology played a role in the storm restoration effort. Smart meters were a large contributor to our restoration efforts by allowing us to confirm power restorations that occurred as reported. Additionally, our advanced distribution management system, which is a software platform for distribution grid operations that has advanced application capabilities to help automate outage restoration and optimize performance, provided dispatch operators and field personnel with situational awareness by allowing them to see more real-time data. The system's damage assessment tools are also supported, streamlining our restoration efforts by minimizing unnecessary phone calls and conversations.
Thank you, Pat. We're going to transition now to Tyler Woody. He's going to talk a little bit more about some of the damages as well as our vegetation management program.
Would you mind if I asked a couple of questions of Ms. Mullen? So the estimated time of restoration was, you made an initial estimate on a global basis at some point early on in the event, and then several days later, you updated the global estimate of the estimated time of restoration on a comprehensive basis, comprehensive meaning on a total basis. What tools do you have, and what capability did you have to indicate to customers, not on a global basis, but more on a more granular basis at the community level, the circuit basis, when their power might be restored? So for example, if I'm a resident in Willoughby, one of the suburbs to the east of downtown Cleveland, if I'm in Willoughby and I am trying to figure out when is my power estimated to, obviously you don't know for sure, but estimated to be restored. And I understand that there's been a global estimate that everybody is expected to be, or close to everybody is expected to be restored by, say, the 11th or the 12th. But I want to know when my power might be restored. You're predicting it might be restored, and say it's on the day of the 7th of August, and I'd like to know whether I'm scheduled or estimated to have my power back on by the 8th or the 9th or the 10th. Is there any capability to provide that kind of more granular information to customers about what they can expect in the midst of the restoration effort as to when they might be restored?
Thank you for the question. So there are 3 levels of ways we communicate, but the first one starts with that global. In this particular storm, there was a lot of damage, so that's why we announced the global first. And it wasn't, I don't think, until Sunday, we went to what we call a district ETR, which is when cities are served by that district, that line
And
shop.
Sunday, remind me, there was Sunday, it started on Tuesday.
Tuesday the 7th, yeah.
So
And
by
then we
3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on Tuesday, the storm had come and done its damage, right?
Right.
And then,
we set the global on Wednesday, if I remember.
all right,
And then we went into our restoration efforts, so that stayed the global until we can get to a place where we go to like what a district ETR is. So some of our line shops were impacted more than others. So it's like one step down from the global. And then once the order that you're associated to is assigned, it goes to what we call a user ETR. So until we actually get to your order to work it, you'll see that global until you see the orders assigned, and then our customers can go into that order and then see that when it was assigned and when that restoration time is going to be.
so if I'm at my residence in, again, Willoughby, or pick a place in the footprint of the outage, the global outage, at what point would I, after August 6th, the Tuesday, when the power went out basically for most everybody who was affected, as I understand it, at what point would I, or could I, at what point would I figure out, would it be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? When would, and I hadn't yet been restored, at what point would I be able to get access to information about when the illuminating company, for example, estimated that I'd be restored?
So in this particular storm, there was a lot of damage, so we couldn't do that right away, which is why we went to our globals. But I will tell you, there's other storms that we have that are much faster to be able to give that user ETR. In this case, it took several days.
Okay.
And if I can just add, Vice Chair Conway, part of the process is an assessment, a physical assessment, which is what we were doing those early days after the storm arrived, so that we could get to the point where we can provide individual ETRs.
Yeah, I would just add too, is those first 2 days, there was a large number of 911 calls, and our protocol from our storm restoration is always safety first, and there was so much damage that that's what we spent our first 2 days focusing on, was the safety part of our restoration.
Is it your objective, or were you able to provide more granular information as quickly as, I don't want to say as quickly as possible, but was there, after the outage is over and the dust settles, based on my admittedly somewhat specific line of questioning here about the outage and its impacts, is there anything after looking at it after the fact that you'd go back and say, well, we could have done this maybe more quickly, or if we had this platform or this dimension to our platform available, we could have provided more information sooner about when recovery could be expected at a more granular level, or do you think you did about as well as could be done?
I think personally, we did a really great job considering the number of 911 calls. So there's, like I said before, there's some storms where you can get that information out very quickly because you don't have that damage of a footprint. But we had a significant damage footprint for CEI. It wasn't just like one area, it was almost the whole footprint. So unfortunately, in this particular case for me, I don't think we could have established it faster.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to turn things over to Tyler now to cover a couple of slides.
All right, thank you, Torrance. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, my name is Tyler Woody. I'm the General Manager of Distribution Veg Management, and I'm responsible for the distribution veg program at the state level. So I'm going to cover some aggregate statistics here, some damage from the storm, as well as some of our anticipated or estimated preliminary storm costs. So a storm like this, as you can imagine, a magnitude of this storm, it touts, higher than usual costs. Preliminary estimates are based on our internal system data for tracking resources assisting the storm, as well as the hourly rates associated with those resources. Timesheet data from internal resources support our internal labor estimate, as well as the material issued to the storm accounting we utilize for estimating purposes. Assumptions were made for lodging and meals and other expenses sort of based on some prior storms. And this estimate does cover both the Ohio Edison and the Illuminating Company storm restoration efforts. So this is the aggregate of the complete storm. Next slide here, we're going to cover and talk a little bit about some of our veg management impact. So this storm, just due to its size and its scale, it brought a lot of really unique challenges to my team and my contracted partners. The volume of just uprooted trees, large limb on wires, just the failures, they were just absolutely catastrophic. Our professional contractors did an outstanding job with safety and efficiency, utilizing various highly specialized equipment to help clear roads for the public, as well as clear our facilities for our line service organizations to complete the necessary repairs to get our customers restored. I do want to touch on just a few key metrics here that really kind of highlight, the effort, the impact the veg management team had to the overall restoration activities. Just looking at some numbers, our forestry staff, we dispatched over 4,900 events or jobs, if you will, throughout this restoration event. We engaged 884 professional workers from across the entire FirstEnergy footprint, as well as 165 mutual aid contractors. Looking at some of the outage metrics here, so at FirstEnergy, we do require cause codes or classifications, if you will, for all tree cause outages so we can better understand the impact that vegetation is having on our system. We code our trees as either an on right-of-way outage, off right-of-way tree, off right-of-way limb, or secondary service. Looking at the data from the storm, 79.5% of all tree-caused CMI came from off right-of-way vegetation. So it's either a whole tree failure or a limb failure that came from outside the right-of-way. Lastly, after the storm, I just want to touch on, we do have a post-storm patrol procedure where my staff, we had patrolled over 4,000 miles of line across the OE and CEI footprint, and identified and mitigated an additional 423 hazards that would have likely caused an outage, remnants from the storm.
Just, it's a lot of different acronyms and references to keep up with, and apologize for perhaps not catching it. CMI stands for?
Customer Minutes Interrupted.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Keeping our customers, regulators, and community leaders safe and informed throughout this historic event was a top priority of ours. Throughout this event, our customer service team responded to thousands of customers' outage inquiries via phone, email, as well as social media. They fielded approximately 55,000 customer outage calls with a live agent answering at an average speed of 34 seconds. We also provided on-site assistance at the Tri-C Cuyahoga Community College's Utility Assistant Resource Fair, which occurred on August 10th. Our regulatory team also provided routine updates to the PUCO beginning on August 6th and through August 13th. They submitted 16 reports via email, as well as responded to 8 special requests. Our external affairs team began communicating with public officials as the storm impacted the area, providing proactive messaging and seeking to understand critical community needs, including emergency management assistance or agency escalations of road closures, as well as critical facility outages. Our external affairs team staffed both the corporate and Ohio Storm Emergency Operations Centers and served as the incidents liaison officer. The team provided multiple updates to public officials and first responders each day of the restoration efforts, including information on our restoration process and progress every single day. External Affairs continued to receive inbound requests for information and escalations throughout the storm and routed those to the appropriate staff. The team used broadcast emails, individual emails, phone calls, as well as text messaging to remain engaged with all key stakeholders throughout the storm event. External Affairs supported multiple meetings between state and local stakeholders, as well as FirstEnergy executives to ensure enhanced lines of communication. Frequent and consistent communication following a severe weather event like this one we just experienced is an absolute must. Customers understandably want to know when their power will be restored. They cannot see all the work that's taking place before we begin to safely make repairs to get them back up and running. When the storm passed, we immediately began communicating with our customers, to the media, as well as to other external stakeholders, to inform them of the extent of the damages that we were up against in the field, as well as to educate them about our restoration process and the importance of staying safe around potential electric hazards in the field. As you can see on this slide, we provided consistent and clear updates using several communication channels, including news releases, more than 100 media interviews, social media, customer emails, as well as our website. Throughout this event, members of the communications department were in the field taking photos and videos of the storm damage across Northeast Ohio and showing our crews hard at work. Whether we shared these materials through social media, customer emails, or directly with the news media, they help paint a picture of what our field personnel were facing and made customers aware of the widespread damage and more empathetic, in many cases, to our restoration effort. It's also worth mentioning that we partner with the National Industry Association, the Edison Electric Institute, on safety-related messaging, considering the amount of damage that we sustained during this event. Most importantly, we're proud that we completed this restoration effort safely, again, without any major safety incident reported. We successfully and quickly improved our use of resources by expanding our incident command structure. As mentioned earlier, we split our greater Cleveland service territory into 4 zones, which led to successful daily tactical planning and accountability and improved information flow based on the incident command setup. The defined role assignments and training proved essential to our restoration efforts. Lastly, we quickly established community outreach and support. We had full engagement and cooperation with local officials and the media. Our customer communications were timely and consistent, and we provided water and ice to all of the impacted areas. The company has a cross-functional team working currently to evaluate our estimated restoration time process to identify possible opportunities for improvement. The team is working to refine the content and frequency of messages during the storm, make recommendations to educate and inform our customers of the outage and restoration process, as well as help improve the employee experience. The team has taken the following steps. They've reviewed all existing ETR processes for the storm event, outlined existing communication processes for external and internal customers, identified channels used during the outage management journey, and evaluated the intent and content of the messaging. The team, and this I think speaks to some of your questions earlier, Vice Chair Conway, is working to determine both near-term and long-term enhancements. This was obviously a major event, not just for Ohio, but all of FirstEnergy, so we want to understand what are all the lessons we can learn and apply them and be prepared for potentially the very next event. Here in Ohio and across our entire 6-state service territory, we are working to strengthen our grid's foundation by executing our vegetation management program, building a smarter communications network, and replacing or upgrading aging equipment in a cost-conscious manner. Tree-caused outages are a leading contributor to power disruptions during storms. Our vegetation management program in Ohio invests nearly $48 million annually to trim trees along more than 7,000 miles of power lines in the illuminating company, as well as Ohio Edison service territory. In addition, our team recently engineered a program that uses machine learning to calculate where trees are posing the most risk to the electric system. This new advanced vegetation analytics tool helps prevent tree-related outages before they even happen. Additionally, we've implemented our advanced distribution management system, which we mentioned played a role in this storm restoration process by helping automate outage restoration and optimize performance. While we've already made great progress on some of this work in Ohio, we realize there are more opportunities for us to invest in the installation of more automated technology and devices across our service territory to help us enable the distribution grid of the future. We also intend to complete the installation of smart meters for all of our Ohio customers. In the future, smart meters will have the ability to detect and locate outages more quickly and provide a more accurate and timely storm restoration information. Earlier this year, FirstEnergy announced a plan to invest heavily in our electric system, both on the distribution and transmission side, across our footprint. This program builds on our grid modernization work in Ohio, including more than $500 million in investments completed through the Grid Mod 1, as well as the expansive enhancements we've made to the transmission system through Energizing the Future. All of this work has benefited customers through enhanced grid resiliency and improved reliability, particularly during severe weather events. That concludes our formal presentation. More than happy to take any additional questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hinton. Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Friedman?
I'm not sure who should respond to this. I can't respond to this, but you replaced or you confronted and repaired over 300 transformers. the impact that that has on inventories. Do you encounter any supply chain problems to address that issue? And if you depleted your inventory, have you compromised your ability to respond to restoration efforts going forward?
I'll take that. That's an excellent question. So the short answer is no. We, at the distribution level, our transformer stocking levels are high enough that we can withstand several events of this nature without any issues, and our vendor supply is also plentiful. When you get into larger substation transformers and high voltage units, that's where the supply chain constraints still are, but those issues at the lower end are not an issue at all.
Thank you. Mic's off. Mr. Hinton, appreciate you and your team allowing us to learn from this storm. I'm interested in the process that was set up early on with the zones. How did you determine where the boundaries were drawn? Was it based upon damage, or was it just based upon the surface area of the storm?
I will direct Pat Mullen to answer that question. Pat?
Thank you. Been in operations for a long time, and so the zone concept really works when you have a severe damaged footprint like we did. So the first thing that I did was I looked to see where the bulk number of customers were out. And so when I determined we needed 4 zones, when I took a look at the CEI footprint, I based it on, okay, well, it's almost established evenly, so I'll just take it and break it up into 4. And we assigned each one of our operation directors a zone, and they were able to focus on that more succinctly and more accurately, and made a lot more progress.
Thank you.
Oh, I just have a question about kind of the emails that went out. Was that a service that the customers had to opt in prior to the event, or was that something that just automatically went out to the customers as long as you had their email addresses on file?
Yeah, to the extent we have the customer emails, we made that proactively, so it wasn't an opt-in service, no.
Was there any other communication channels that you utilized, texting or automated outbound phone calls that updated the outage information to the customer?
All the above, including social media. We relied heavily on the media itself to make sure we're getting our messages out. We encourage customers to go on our website as well, so we used all available channels to get information out.
Just one more question along the same line that I was mining before, and this might be for Ms. Mullen or you, Mr. Hinton. On slides 16 through 18, you reviewed or summarized the efforts you'd made to conduct outreach to inform customers of what was going on and other kind of outreach from FE to the customers. Is there any element of your particularly your after action activities that would engage customers on a qualitative basis to find out from their perspective what they found that worked or didn't work, or what they would like to see happen that didn't happen, or that might provide you with some customer-generated input, not simply pushing information out to customers, but rather gathering information in from them to find out what would make their experience, I guess, better, if that's an appropriate word to use in this context?
That's a very good question, and actually I take that as a recommendation I will share with you as part of the after-action review. Not only are we discussing things internally, including getting information from our union personnel who are out on the front lines to understand how can we make the experience better for them. We've already engaged with some of our key external customers, local officials, but the point you raise is a very good one in terms of how do we collect data from our day-to-day customers. And I will follow up with the team if we don't already have that in place, I will make certain that that is one of the measures we take into account.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hinton, again, I'm not sure who's best to answer this, but several of you have touched on mutual aid. So can you elaborate a little bit on the reciprocity with other states and other companies and how that works and what impact it really had on this particular situation?
Yeah, I think I'm going to toss that to John.
Yes. So first, there are 7 mutual assistance organizations, regional mutual assistance groups, we call them, within the United States and Canada. FirstEnergy is a member of 3. So we have the Great Lakes Mutual Assistance Group, we have the Southeastern Electric Exchange, and the North Atlantic Mutual Assistance Groups. So it's around our footprint. And so from a reciprocity perspective, really, that's really the intent of the process, is if other utilities need help, most likely other utilities are not impacted, or they can release part of their resources or their contractors. And so we can accept either. And so that's how the process really works. And we put the call out, and there's a system that we use to track everybody who can offer and who's requesting. So we know we have visibility across the whole country at any time who's requesting and who's offering crews, and about how many, if that fully answers your question.
It does, and the impact on this particular storm, the ability to do that how was that?
We didn't have any particular impact because all of the resources that were required for Debbie came from the southeast. So
Yeah.
we still had the other 2 organizations to reach to. So Great Lakes being the closest organization, the utilities within that, we reached there first. And we got what we needed there based on that. And plus our third avenue is our contractor partners. We have a 90 contractor list that we call directly and get them, and we source them directly as well as that and our internal folks.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions?
Just, if I may, one more, just, this is largely just an issue of curiosity. When you make decisions, you often aggravate some and please others. Do you have any anecdotal information about, how did the community think you guys did in your restoration efforts?
Yeah, and I'll invite anyone to chime in. I will tell you, based on the acts of kindness where we saw, in some cases, Commissioner, little kids baking cookies or providing lemonade to our crews, I think most customers were thankful that we were there. Now, obviously, they were aggravated because some customers were out several days, but I would say the majority of our customers understood what we were up against, and I give credit to the media because we were very intentional about sharing the fact that this was historic. I think early on we didn't know that, but about a day into the event, Pat here told me, yeah, we haven't had this amount of customers out for about 30 years. And so getting that information out so that people understood this wasn't a normal storm event, I think helped paint the picture for our customers. And I would say the vast majority were thankful, they were appreciative. I was out in the field a couple of times, and when we restored a block, a gentleman came out and fist bumped me because, again, he was very happy. So I don't know, Pat or any others, you want to chime in on that question?
No, by and large, we received a lot of positive feedback, and we even got some inquiries from some of our peer utilities who had seen the level of progress and how quickly we were able to respond and stand everything up. And so we're going to be doing some cross-benchmarking with them to show them some of the things that we did, and then also talk to them about some of the initial, the efforts that they have as well. So we're sharing on that side as well.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming, too.
Thank you. We have several members of our legislature here today. They were invited to attend, of course. It's an open meeting, but they were specifically invited. We have Senator Smith, Senator Troy, Representative Brennan. I think that's who I see. And it's my understanding that Representative Brennan would like to ask a question. Sir, so that you can be heard as we broadcast this on YouTube, if you could just take a seat. And then we'll turn on your mic. Commissioner Friedman, if you could.
Thanks. Is it on? Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the commission. I'm a member of the Public Utilities Committee. Am I on now? Did you hear all that? So again, thank you, Chair French, and thank you, members of the commission, for having me. I've been a member of the legislature now for 21 months. And it's been an honor. I serve on the Public Utilities Committee. Prior to that, I served on Parma City Council for 19 years and chaired our Government Operations Committee. So utilities have always had a special place in my, I keep moving it around, special place in my heart, particularly because my mom was a single mom. After my dad abandoned us, I know how hard it was for my mom to pay the lot space rent at our in the trailer park and pay for the gas and electric bills when they came. So first of all, I just want to commend the line workers who came into Parma Heights and West Park. They were just phenomenal. How they are able to come in and coordinate everything, do it in a safe manner to keep them and their brothers and sisters safe, keep the community safe, was just miraculous. No other word for it. And to answer your question, Commissioner, how did the residents respond? They were very impressed with the professionalism and the patience and the kindness of the line workers who came into our community from not only the region, but from throughout our neighboring states. I talked to I went out specially and thanked the linemen and women for coming into the community and getting us back online so quickly. One guy, just to give an example of the sacrifice many of these folks made to come up to Northeast Ohio, missed his son's fifth birthday. And those are the stories, I'm sure there are many of those that we don't often hear about, is that they really did sacrifice, and they did it in a smile with their face. I mean, the day I went and met them was when they were getting ready to pull out, and despite having worked many, many hours, they didn't really seem tired, and they still had smiles on their faces. So my thanks on behalf of my residents go out to all the line workers for all the great work they did. Couple of things. The ice was very helpful. We could have quadrupled that. My advice is, I think initially it went to Giant Eagle. There are many areas in Northeast Ohio that don't have a Giant Eagle nearby. Unfortunately, we have some food deserts in regions, areas of Northeast Ohio, so my advice would be to improve on that. The water was a nice gesture. I'm not really sure where that got anybody. We didn't really have any problems with water up in Northeast Ohio. But the gist of what I want to get at is, for years, FirstEnergy charged customers a distribution modernization rider, and there have been other riders and these hidden charges on our customers' bills to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. An audit found that there was no clear evidence to show that the distribution modernization rider went to its stated purpose of modernizing the electric grid. In fact, there was no evidence that FirstEnergy tracked where that money went, leading some to wonder if it went to political activity, including the $60 million bribe that we all know about. Despite the significant dollars that hardworking Ohioans spent to fund energy infrastructure, there's lots of evidence, including I think this particular incident, that Ohio is falling short in managing power outages compared to other states because we continue to experience a disproportionately high rate of outages. So my question is, what is the status of the grid modernization? What is PUCO's plan to provide safeguards to our residents and ratepayers who fund infrastructure improvements? So what's the plan? And then how will PUCO hold FirstEnergy accountable for maintenance going forward? That's really again, folks were happy with the response and getting us back online, but what are we going to do moving forward to ensure that the infrastructure is maintained better, particularly because they're paying for it? Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Brennan. So actually, thank you for the question. Thank you for the kind comments about the line workers and those stories. Actually, FirstEnergy Grid Mod is a case before the PUCO right now, currently pending, and therefore, of course, we can't make any comments on that, but it is pending before us, and I really do appreciate the good points that you brought up, and they will be considered, and when we are able to respond to you, we will do so.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yes. And Senator Smith and Senator Troy, do you both have questions?
Get quick, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Representative Troy, thank you for the
I'm sorry.
promotion. But, or
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
or demotion, depending on how you look at it. Just a couple of comments and then maybe a question. First of all, I think one of the things that was a problem that we heard a lot from the constituents was when the messaging went out that probably not ready to get people's power back on until the 14th. And this was from a storm on the 6th. So people were just up in arms complaining about the fact, you mean it's going to be 6 or 7 or 8 days and all that. So I think I know there's been some discussion on that. However, we can refine that. I mean, I know I've been in government for a long time, and you always like to have a real high construction estimate, and then when it comes in below, you say, see, we beat our target. But so that, the other thing is, as a member of the Public Utilities Commission and part of these joint hearings we had with Pennsylvania committees, there seems to be this concentration on generation. You know, we make sure we don't end up like Texas. How are we going to make sure we generate enough power? And really, the problems I'm hearing from my constituents over the years is not so much the availability of the capacity, but the ability to distribute that power and keep that power properly distributed and getting to the homes and the businesses. So whatever we can do going forward to improve the grid performance, obviously we're subject to a lot of weather conditions in Northeast Ohio. Obviously we're seeing climate change causing more serious storms and all that, but I think we really need to start concentrating a little bit more on the distribution and transmission of the power, and maybe a little bit less on how we generate that power. The third thing is, and probably the question is, and maybe FirstEnergy can answer this. So during the storm, one of my communities, Willoughby Hills, had about 85% of their power out and all that. And I was up there on the weekend where power is still being restored. And I was talking to some folks in a crew from North Carolina who had been repairing something there on Route 6 Chardon Road, and then they kind of stopped over next door to kind of take a break. And I was talking to them. I said, "So you done over there?" And they said, "Well, we're done here." I said, "Well, where do you go next?" And they said, "Well, we can't go anywhere right now because FirstEnergy is overwhelmed with, we can't make contact with them because apparently, obviously, for life-saving measures, the power is cut off in certain areas for life safety and all that. But then apparently they could not leave. They could not get to their next fix because they have to wait for someone at the central location, I'm not an electrical engineer, to basically turn the power back on so they make sure everything works." So I'm just wondering, is there an advanced technology that can probably make that better? Because I think there was a lot of downtime on a lot of these repair crews just sitting around waiting for that ability to do that. And that would be the only question I have, and I thank you, Madam Chair, and the members of the Commission.
Yeah, I would just respond by saying, as part of our after-action review, we're looking at every single part of the response, including our distribution control center and how they were communicating with our field personnel, including contractors, in ways that, whether it's improving processes or adopting new technology that can better improve the experience moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Troy. Senator Smith?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Greatly appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, understand that the representatives have committee hearings today. So I've got, based on slide 16 in your presentation, FirstEnergy provided regular updates to the PUCO beginning August 6th through August 13th, submitted 16 report emails, and responded to 8 special requests. Can you tell me what those were?
Yeah, I will lean on someone on the team to get into the details on that. We have it, and if we don't, we may need to follow up. We have someone coming up.
My name is Crystal Kimura. I'm the manager for regulatory reporting. So we send periodic emails upon request to the PUCO and when we have critical customer outages. So those 16 emails were the regular scheduled emails that go out when we have any type of outages. We also had 8 special requests from Bob Wolf at the PUCO. So we had questions regarding the mix of outages for transmission versus distribution, ETR requests for the Chardon Highway Patrol, Cleveland Public Power contact for a nursing home. They specifically didn't have that information. They requested assistance for Blackbrook Valley Estates in Portage County. They also requested for operations to coordinate with Breezeline Cable Company for restoration efforts. Additionally, they had a request for CEI ETRs if they're available, and as already discussed, we provided those as soon as possible. They requested assistance for Troy Oaks Home due to the water system being without power, and assistance for ATT Central Office 911 operations, which was concerned with the interruptions. And then additionally, they requested assistance for UH Geauga Medical. So those were the 8 special requests from Bob Wolf.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that detail. Can I more? Thank you. So we spent some time talking about vegetation management. And again, so I guess I'm wondering, does anyone from FirstEnergy, can you speak to how much was spent on vegetation management between 2017 and the storm, 2024?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it's something we can certainly get for you.
Okay. Thank you. I would appreciate that. I'm sure the commissioners would appreciate that too. Representative Brennan made allusions to a recent report in 2022 where Ohio ranked third among states with the most customers affected by power outages per capita. But this was not due to excessive demand on the system, as Ohio ranked 24th for total electric consumption. Is that, I don't know if you all have seen that report, but is that due to major storm events like August 6th? Is that due to, I don't know if there is such a thing as a routine storm event, but I mean, can you speak to perhaps the challenge that is facing the seventh largest state in the country if we're getting seemingly more power outages than our capacity would anticipate?
Yeah, I have not personally seen that report, but happy to take a look and make sure that we're responsive in terms of our understanding of it and what our viewpoint might be.
Just one more, maybe. I guess I appreciate the follow-up on vegetation management from 2017 to basically August 6th. And I guess I'm wondering also, just what would be normal equipment upgrades? Because again, my concern is that if this was the biggest storm in 30 years, and I remember the July storm, I remember what it did on the street that I was living on in Euclid, Ohio at that point, the July 1993 storm. But I mean, how does this storm compare to other storms of its size that knocked off, almost 500,000 people? I mean, I think that perhaps the teachable moments is how did other major metropolitan areas, because this was obviously, your service area is fairly dense, how did they respond? And do we need to not look at the 1993 storm, but do we need to look at a major storm that tore through, Minneapolis in 2011, or something like that? Because when 400,000 customers get knocked off because of 5 tornadoes and very strong winds, I was in the Lake Erie Islands when that storm initially came through. It wasn't as strong then, but I remember looking at my phone and looking at the radar and looking at that line as it was coming into Lorain County. And I was like, this is going to be bad. This was the one day of vacation that I took this summer, and I was back in the district by midnight. It would have been a longer vacation had the storm not come through, at any rate. But 400,000 people get knocked offline right away. 3 days later, 200,000 are still out. And I guess I'm wondering, is there a comparable storm that we could learn about the preparation before the storm or the execution of restoration of services so that 3 days after the fact, we still don't have half of the customer base without power?
Yeah, and I think, and I'll just reiterate some things we shared earlier. We are actively engaged right now in an after-action review. We're looking at not only internally, I think John Huber spoke to the fact that we're also understanding our other utility peers and their experiences and what we can learn. I will caution us, while the number count may be similar for a different storm, say across the nation, it doesn't mean that our systems are similar. And so we need to make sure we're comparing apples to apples when we're looking at other storms, even across the U.S., to make sure that it is a true comparison in what it may take to quickly restore. So that would be my only caution, but we will certainly take a look and understand what we can learn. I think, again, for us, it's a historic event, a 30-year event, and it's an opportunity for us to make sure that whenever that next storm comes, we are even better prepared.
Thank you very much. Just one more. On slide 14, you've got preliminary cost estimates. Is there any report thus far on damage, total scope of damage? Because I believe this is just, the costs that FirstEnergy has borne as a result of the storm. Any macro cost estimates?
None that I've seen in terms of, we're talking about the impact to businesses and the like. I have not seen that information yet.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Senator Smith, thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much for being here today. We greatly appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Thank you.